Good morning to NICAR's CRE Broker Forum. This is a once-a-month webinar where we typically host the last Tuesday of the month or when suitable for our presenters. And we cover a variety of hot topics in commercial real estate, have a Q&A, and then we give everyone that's on the session an opportunity to advertise their number one need or want. And it doesn't always have to be listings. However, if you do have listings, we try to facilitate, what are the benefits in the property, telling us a little bit about ownership. So finding ways that we can get the deal done. We try to also take that information in for NICAR. We have a database of needs and wants. We post them between the web page, between NICAR on the LinkedIn pages. So we're always looking to expand our reach and help commercial practitioners get deals done. And this is one of the many forums that we have to help facilitate that. So this particular month, we have former Illinois CCIM President Zane Peterson, who's going to talk a little bit. He could talk about a wealth of topics, but he's going to kind of touch on some points that will hopefully help brokers. And then afterwards, we will have a Q&A, and then we will end the recording. The recording will be available both on the NICAR webpage through the CRE Broker Forum, as well as our YouTube channel. We always encourage not only participation, but if you have suggestions for presenters or content or some way to improve, we're always all ears. You can contact me, Teresa Mueller. Oh, hi, I should introduce myself. I'm Teresa Mueller, managing broker of Trillium, both commercial here as well as international, and always loving helping other brokers the best we can. So without further ado, Zane, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and go ahead and dive in, whatever you want to tell us today.
Sure, yeah. Well, thank you for having me. This is my first year as a NICAR member, and I'm in a CCIM Illinois chapter liaison role at NICAR, and looking forward to presenting. The topic that we developed was commercial real estate in secondary and tertiary markets, which is my specialty. I have an office in Decatur and Springfield and operate throughout the central Illinois region. And secondary topic is why investors are looking beyond the Chicagoland area and how brokers can capitalize. So let me just share my screen here, and we'll just dive in if that's okay, unless there's any questions on the front end. Okay. And if there are any questions throughout, please just ask. I'm pretty open, and I'd rather have a conversational presentation discussion. Can everyone see my screen here? Quick share. Okay. All right, so topic, commercial real estate in secondary and tertiary markets, why investors are looking beyond Chicagoland and how brokers can capitalize. A little bit about myself.
I can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't?
No.
I'm able to see it.
You can see it?
Yes.
Okay.
So am I. Okay.
Never mind.
Is it okay? I don't know if are we okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So as Teresa mentioned, my name is Zane Peterson. I am managing broker of our firm, Main Place Properties, and I am a CCIM designee. I'm originally from the north suburbs of Chicago, grew up in Morton Grove, went to Niles North High School, discovered Decatur through Millikan University, studied finance, played on the men's golf team, helped start a restaurant after graduating, got burnt out in the restaurant business, obtained my broker license in 2014, dabbled in residential, had more of a passion for commercial transactions, graduated up into my managing broker license in 2018, and then took the real graduation of getting pinned for my CCIM designation in 2019. And the CCIM designation was a total game changer in my career. And I'm going to give CCIM a little plug here shortly as well. My specialty is brokering transactions in central Illinois. I have a focus of investment and industrial properties, but being in secondary and tertiary markets, our firm operates in all asset classes. I also have a small growing real estate portfolio that I manage and have some partnership real estate holdings. I serve on the CCIM National Institute, the marketing committee. I'm the immediate past president of CCIM Illinois chapter, and then also sitting on the Illinois Realtor Commercial Real Estate Property Management Committee and part of NICAR this year, and licensed in Illinois and Florida. A little bit about our firm. We started in 2006. We're a full service brokerage company, property management, and manage a family office, which is the bulk of our asset management clientele. We have a full service residential team. Chris Harrison's been a longtime business partner of mine. He's a CCIM as well. He manages a residential team of about 20 agents that specialize mainly in the Macon County, Decatur area. And then we have a commercial brokerage team that specializes throughout central Illinois. We have helped clients across state lines when it makes sense with the right asset investment. And we have offices in Decatur and Springfield. So our Midwest advisor team, we, like most here on the call, advise our clients throughout transactions, and we're members of numerous trade organizations, CCIM, ICSC, IRM, Illinois Realtors, and NAR. Next, I mentioned how CCIM was a real game changer in my career. I encourage anyone who's serious about commercial real estate to pursue the CCIM designation. Mike Mellon and David Ellerman back in 2016 introduced me to CCIM and basically told me that same line. They said, "Hey, Zane, if you're serious about commercial real estate, you really need to get your CCIM." And since then, I pursued the education. It took me 2 to 3 years of knocking out all the core classes and getting pinned for my CCIM in San Diego in 2019. So a little bit more about becoming a CCIM. I encourage everyone to check it out at the institute level. Then I strongly encourage everyone, if you're not already, to be a member of the Illinois CCIM chapter. Common myth is you don't have to be a CCIM designee to be a member of the Illinois chapter. And memberships range based off of categories, fairly nominal expense, and it provides great networking and educational opportunities. And when we distribute this slideshow, there's a link here of events that we already have mapped out for this next year, and we're continuing to add more events. This was a carryover slide from a different presentation. I don't think it'll really matter, but doesn't hurt to disclaim I'm not a CPA, not a lawyer, not giving any real hard-hitting advice here. I'm just a humble commercial real estate broker. Then we'll dive into the presentation. First, I'm going to start out just defining market classes. So we'll start with primary markets. This would be the Chicagoland and Collier counties, large populations, MSAs, often over 1 million in population. MSAs are metro statistic areas. And that's in market research, usually defined on how you analyze a market based on size. Primary markets have very strong employment bases with diverse industries across basically all industry classes. They have high demand for office, retail, industrial, and multifamily. Typically, primary markets have lower cap rates due to high competition. Individual investors can often be competing with the institutional investors, driving down cap rates and rates of return. Primary markets also have established public transportation infrastructure and then often have high barriers of entry due to zoning, regulations, and development costs. Then we have secondary markets. Secondary markets are populations typically between 100,000 and 1 million population. They have strong but smaller economic bases, typically more focused on a sector or two and not across all sectors. They do offer a little bit of lower real estate costs, more moderate cap rates, and growing infrastructure and business-friendly policies. Typically, the state and local economic development offices really try to drive pro-business and get behind new developers entering the market and opportunity for value-add investments. Then tertiary markets. Tertiary markets are ones that, when I tell people, oh, that's a pretty tertiary market, they kind of chuckle. I don't know if it's based on the name or they don't come across tertiary markets all that often. Lower population, often under 100,000, lower density, usually reliant on a single economic driver, manufacturing, agriculture, logistics. They often have higher cap rates, a little bit higher risk due to higher vacancy, limited competition, and then growing infrastructure that is currently limited, and then a lot of economic growth. Employers coming here of over 100 jobs really depend on economic growth provided by local and state incentives. So a little bit more visual here. Here's identifying some secondary and tertiary markets in Illinois in reference to Cook County and the Collar counties. Obviously, population-wise, the bulk of population in the state lies within the Cook County and Collar County region, with about 30 to 35% lying in the rest of the great state of Illinois. And then here we're touching upon some of the economic drivers in these secondary and tertiary markets. For example, Peoria is very healthcare driven, very manufacturer driven with Caterpillar, Rockford, aerospace, logistics, Springfield, very governmental services, education, being the state capital, Champaign, university and research, Bloomington is really breaking through in the EV manufacturing with Rivian. Decatur has been a long-time agribusiness hub with ADM and Primient, who took over Tate & Lyle, where they turned corn and soy into pretty much every product in the grocery store food shelf. And then some true tertiary markets like Quincy, Danville, and Carbondale that have far less than 100,000 people in population, still have some economic drivers, still have some good real estate opportunities, but just not as much as the secondary markets above. So why are investors looking beyond Chicago, possibly for some of these secondary and tertiary markets? One is due to technologies, MLS feeds, things like that. In recent years, our real estate listings in the MLS have been syndicated through MRED. It's getting in front of a larger audience, so I think that's created some demand there. And just the intrinsic value of, one, people are trying to get away from the rising costs and regulatory challenges in Chicago. Obviously, it's well known Cook County has some of the highest property taxes around, increased regulations, the government unknowns, and then high competition. It's harder for small individual investors to compete in the metro markets. There's also migration trends. Over COVID, we had a lot of people, our residential team had folks moving away from Chicago, moving from California, some coastal markets, New York, moving to the central Illinois region just due to its lower cost of living. Then chasing higher cap rates, right? It's all about the rate of return. I don't need to tell you folks that. You have clients that are always chasing that higher rate of return if it makes sense, and secondary and tertiary markets often offer those higher cap rate properties and more affordable on the per square foot metric, often shy of $150 per square foot, where Chicagoland area you're pushing into the 200 plus range. Infrastructure, economic incentives, I touched upon this briefly, but Rebuild Illinois created a massive amount of government funding for central Illinois growth. One example is the redevelopment of the Amtrak, the rail, high-speed rail, connecting central Illinois to Chicago more quickly instead of a 2.5-hour train ride from Springfield to Union Station. They're supposed to cut that down to an hour, which should make travel way more amicable, cutting less into people's days. And then TIF districts and opportunity zones. So as mentioned, a lot of these municipalities at the municipality level or at the EDC level have TIF districts that they're pushing new development growth in their municipalities. And then also the national opportunity zones. A lot of opportunity zones fall in the secondary and tertiary markets. And with the new, political regime at the national level, there's a lot of anticipation that the opportunity zones will get extended out and further those tax incentives for developers investing in opportunity zones. Here's a graph I stumbled upon that merged in some secondary, tertiary markets. I don't know how great this data is, so I did not create it. I did not verify it, but just as a visual showing your price per square foot and showing your cap rates across these markets. And, in comparison to Chicago, where cap rates will be pushing, sub 6%, sub 7%, these markets almost all, depending on the asset, of course, there are some brand new 15-year Starbucks assets that sell for, sub 7% cap rate. But traditionally, all these markets offer, above a 7.5 cap rate, just based on the location. Any questions?
You're not done, right? Because I do have a list of questions.
I'm not done.
Okay. I do, but I'll wait till you're done.
Quick question on cap rates. Okay, what do you see industrial cap rates, okay, in the secondary and tertiary markets?
We've seen a lot of pushing 9 cap, somewhere around that 8.5 to 9.5 cap rate, depending on the quality of tenant. Obviously, if it's a 3-year lease, something like that, we've seen some pushing in double digits. But
okay, big boxes.
Big boxes in that 8, depending on how stable they are.
Okay.
8.5.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, now the fun part. How can brokers capitalize and be knowledgeable with working with their investors in these secondary and tertiary markets? First and foremost, like anything, just understanding your client's priorities and investment goals. What's their risk level? What type of asset class do they prefer to invest in? And what's their internal rate of return? Whenever we analyze financial analysis for our clients, it's always, hey, what's your dollars making in a money market account right now? Okay, let's take your $400,000 down payment, add some debt to it, and let's see how your cash on cash looks. Let's see how this total investment makes sense in your portfolio. And are you actually making a rate of return on this that's competitive to what your money could be just parked in a money market account? So first and foremost, just understand your client's needs, and that really goes without saying, probably across any market. Then understanding and selling the secondary markets, doing market research. Any CCIM typically has site to do business, ESRI, business analysis software. That's a super powerful tool. I would say 95%, if not more than all CCIMs are compatible in it. You can really dive into the metrics of how many rooftops are within 1 mile from this retail property, to the logistics of how far of a drive time do you have from an industrial warehouse, and how many suppliers is this industrial logistics hub going to reach within a day's drive time. So super powerful tool. And then just understand the economic drivers, as I touched upon previously in the slides. Dive into that more. Peoria OSF has been expanding, adding doctors, pushing their campus, expanding to the downtown region. Just knowing these secondary and tertiary markets and benefiting your client, because then you can come back to your client and say, hey, I think this would be a good investment in Peoria because X, Y, and Z. And third and final, I'd say expanding your deal flow and network. Connect with local brokers. Central Illinois has a bunch of good, just true commercial practitioners, like anywhere. And call somebody who's not the listing agent. If your client sends you a property that's on the market, obviously talk to the listing agent, hear them about it, but call a different broker in the market and say, hey, I have a question. Are you aware about this property? Because we are in smaller markets, we have a pretty good handle of what's on the market. We usually check updates and our hot sheets regularly through CREXI, CoStar, and the MLS. So reach out to other brokers in the market and just get their opinion about this property. Hey, how come this property's been on the market for 4 months and hasn't sold yet? Just get their unbiased opinion of the property. Then, maximizing your time value. I've seen it before where brokers from Chicagoland area, I think a lot of kind of resi-commercial brokers, they spend a whole day driving to these markets. They don't know where they're going. They're punching in an address. They haven't done the research. And I would say, in best use of everyone's time, deal share with local market brokers who do know the market, who are going to represent your client well. If it's not worth, the day trip down of I-55, I-57, and that windshield time, work with the local broker. A lot of what we do is work with national brokers across the country who have client needs in Central Illinois, and we deal share. And I manage the local market. I handle the showings, handle the landlord expectations in the deal, and then that national broker handles their client at the national level. And that always works out great. Something that I've adopted over the years, and I think a lot of Central Illinois brokers have, is it's better to have a very small piece of the pie than no pie at all. So if we can deal share and make a deal work, all for it. Then reach out, find a CCIM. There's findaccim.com. I use it across the country. As I've been expanding my CCIM network, I've had to use it less just because I know people in other markets and they've always connected me with the right person. But findccim.com is a great resource, great tool to make sure you're going to work alongside a true commercial real estate practitioner. And then lastly, as I mentioned, reach out to local economic development offices. Their job is to sell their municipality. They're usually more than happy to schedule a Zoom call with you or your client and explore different incentives, tell you about the local hypermarket, what's going on, what other developments are going on in the area, and what they can do to help spur activity. Then, as I briefly mentioned, Esri, diving into the market analysis. This is just a cool snapshot that I put together. I used Springfield's MSA, and you can really dive into, just so much data through this tool. One thing that I like is, it'll give you population count, how many rooftops, median household income. That's great when working with a retailer because retailers have such strong metrics that they look for if they're choosing a site selection. So great on the retail side. Also the tapestry segment. So tapestry is a term used to identify the population who's living in a market. And the highest tapestry for Springfield MSA is Rust Belt Traditions. And this is just a little snapshot that says kind of who these people are in the market. They're usually married couples. They usually work in services and professional administration. Average income's $57,000 a year. Ethnicity, what type of education they have, and then you can view a full market segment that really tells you what type of hobbies they do, how do they spend their discretionary income, what type of vacations do they take, and you can really dive in and identify with who's in this market. And you can narrow this down to census tract level, or you can open it up to across the whole state of Illinois. But great market research available through the Esri database platform. Lastly, in summary, secondary and tertiary markets in Illinois offer some strong investment due to potential growth, lower costs, and economic incentives. Brokers who are knowledgeable and well-connected throughout the markets in the state of Illinois will have a higher competitive edge to serve their clients. Will be more knowledgeable about opportunities in these markets and can get opportunities in front of their clients who are seeking some higher yield rates of return. So that's the formal presentation, but looking forward to questions and hopefully I can have some answers, or if not, I can certainly find answers and follow up post meeting.
Thank you very much, Zane. I do have a list of questions. If anyone has a question, if you could just do the reaction of raise your hand and I'll call it on the order that you have questions. I would like to know, one of the topics that we had earlier in the year was for this forum was going into economic forecast. And then on our CGBN webinar, we also had Intersect Illinois, talking about all the great things that Illinois has to offer. And of course, everywhere I go, I'm a Chicago cheerleader, right? Like even though you were talking about secondary and tertiary markets, I'm in the Chicagoland, as are some of the other people here. Well, what we are promoting is that Illinois is a logistics hub. We have the largest fresh body of water. We have lots of great things that we can add, whether it be the Chicagoland or the agricultural secondary tertiary markets. What I would like to hear from you is, can you give an example of a win that you've had that they may have chose another state or something like, wow, because we had this presence in central Illinois, whether it be data centers or whatever, what was a big win that you can give to everyone for Illinois / your market?
Yeah, Bloomington's been the biggest on the win side right now with, and they backfilled industrial spaces. So they backfilled Mitsubishi with Rivian, and due to the logistics being in the center of the country, due to the logistics of this massive second generation industrial campus specifically for auto manufacturing. That was a home run for the state of Illinois to land Rivian. That is spurring other economic developments in the EV industry. Decatur has TCCI. They manufacture electric compressors, which are huge for the EV component because batteries get hot. Electric compressors keep the battery level within a very tight range that they have to be without overheating. So TCCI in the Central Illinois market has also been expanding. They've entered some initiatives with the state of Illinois and with University of Illinois and Richland Community College for workforce development, where they're going to do EV training right on their campus in Decatur. And they've expanded their Decatur facility by 50,000 square feet. They're wrapping it up this year, the actual construction project. So the EV has been a big push in Illinois and a big win. Second story is Bloomington with the Ferrero, the chocolate maker. They backfilled a Nestle plant and they add on 250,000 square feet. So another win. And Bloomington is really, if you look on the map, Bloomington and Decatur are smack dab in the center of the state. And Bloomington has some great logistics with I-74 and I-55 running through it. Really good wins there. I'm working on a win as we speak, but I've signed multiple confidentiality agreements, so can't discuss that more. But the state of Illinois has been heavily involved with the local EBC, and hopefully third quarter this year, we'll have a big announcement, and that's a win that I've been working diligently on.
Well, I look forward to hearing it, Zane. Bill, you have a question? You're on mute.
Yes. First of all, sorry I had to take a call, and whenever I came back on, you had a marketing analysis report up. Okay, so just as a review, where did you obtain that from?
The Site to Do Business and Esri Business Analysis.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss out where you got to that to get that data from.
Yeah.
Secondly, in your area, what are the major data centers, okay, that are searching for properties? All right. I know that they're searching all over the state, and, they've already gone out to ComEd and located the substations and the transmission lines and are, going up and down. And some of them are been in the business a while, and there's a lot of new startups. So we're just seeing to see what you see down there and in the Springfield area. I have a farm down there that my client is contemplating, putting solar on it also. So the solar farms and data centers. Tell me what's going on in the mid-state.
Yes, solar farms. I've been involved in a few solar farm transactions. I had a sale last year that was a 50-acre site that abutted Caterpillar, and on the other side of the county highway is ADM. So just logistically, they can sell power right through the fence to two major industrial players in the market. So solar's been big, and then the data centers have been huge as well. I'm currently co-representing a 480,000 square foot warehouse facility in Decatur, Illinois. It's a Commerce Park. Previously, it was Firestone from like the 1960s to the early 2000s. And then Caterpillar backfilled it for about a dozen years, and now it's a vacant industrial warehouse. It sits on 130 acres, and we've been having conversations with numerous data centers about it. Ironically, Ameren has a substation that abuts the property, and the property owners just sold off 8 acres to Ameren, who's the ComEd, supplier in the area, to further develop their substation. So it has some great synergy. It has fiber that runs right down the street, or right on the same street as it. So we're chasing data centers, and we've been in conversations with a number of them about this site.
Okay. I'll touch base with you offline and see if we can dig a little
Excellent.
deeper.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I'm
Bill.
with Connor Mulliday on that from JLL, if you ever cross paths with Connor. So he's been great to work with.
Thank you, Bill. Related to his question about where you got the data, since you're using STDB and Esri, do you also use RPR and compare how those reports and metrics, if they're available, are you also using that?
I have before, but I typically do the site to do business. That's just where my go-to is. Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to ask, since Getty is one of the younger ones on here, do you have advice for practitioners that are coming into real estate right now, like conferences that you go to, or little tips from when you started out?
Yeah. Really just go to as much as possible, which is easier said than done, especially as your career advances and you get family and all sorts of other, fun activities. But when you're young and you have the time, just meet as many people as possible who are in the industry, who touch the industry. For years, I started going to landlord, luncheons, getting in front of the multifamily investor crowd, and there always seems to be a progression there where people start at the investor level. People usually start in multifamily and then they eventually graduate to retail, industrial, triple net type structures. So getting a base of those multifamily investors was always good, and those multifamily groups seem to be in every community. And then CCIM Illinois has been a big part of it as well. Once I joined CCIM Illinois, it was as I was wrapping up my coursework for my designation. I started coming to events, and then I quickly got on the board, started volunteering, and that really opened up, my regional Illinois broker connection. And being 3 hours from Chicago, my home office, it's opened up a lot of opportunities because there's folks like yourself, Teresa, Chris, who call me up, have a question, have an investor who sent them a property, and what's your take on this? And sometimes it ends up in a deal, sometimes it doesn't, but it's just constant relationship building, and it's a great rewarding career. I'm either in my car driving to a property, walking through a property, or I'm at my home office, at my office, and I talk to people about real estate all day, whether it's another broker on the line, an investor, a contractor. It's all real estate centric, and it's what I enjoy doing. I couldn't envision another more rewarding career than commercial real estate.
And to highlight your point about referrals, because we can't be everywhere. So, for example, Bill and I, we regularly go to these international conferences. And when we go as Illinois or Chicago cheerleaders, sometimes they're not looking for that city. Sometimes they're looking for something outside. So what we had through this session, also, it's in one of the recordings, is we had an attorney on who talked about when you are referring to other agents throughout the U.S., what does that mean, right? What kind of state it is, what kind of agreements, how involved can you be? But the larger your network, the more you're able to communicate with other agents and get deals done beyond just your market area.
Correct. 100%. Yeah.
So are there any other questions before we go on to the needs and wants? Ahmed has a question. Go.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So my question is pertaining to tariffs. So you've got companies, U.S. companies that have warehouses in Mexico, warehouses in Canada, and this is going to have an impact. And the reason I'm asking this, I was with a friend, attorney friend from downtown who's with a very large firm. And so their clients are, the big 100. And one of the issues that he was dealing with was on the legal implications with tariffs. But also, if that's going to affect, finally, it's going to be the consumer, and if the consumer stops buying, obviously that warehouse space is no longer necessary, whether it's in Mexico, Canada, or the U.S. So have you found any of that conversation going on, or do you know, any forecast in terms of the impact?
Yes. Really good question. And the companies that I've worked with, and warehouse purchasers, logistics folks at major players like Caterpillar, at some of our industrial players, they're obviously hyper focused to it. They've made comments to me that they're it is going to affect them. But it's a little too early to tell if it's going to, if and when it's going to roll over into real estate decisions. Right now, everyone's watching their purchases. Obviously, Caterpillar, very steel intensive. How much steel is truly manufactured in the United States? Not a whole lot. They're watching it carefully. I think there is going to be some retraction naturally in some of these industrial sectors. But I personally believe it's going to be more short term as we combat this tariff. I think it's going to be a little bit of a speed bump, and then it's going to speed things up. And I believe the goal is to onshore more of these basic commodity manufacturers, which would then long outlook would really, rejuvenate the economy and this industrial sector. But for the time being, I do think it's going to be a step backwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's probably way more to it. Obviously, I read the Wall Street Journal, or try to as much as possible, but from a local, humble commercial real estate point of view, that's
that's fun. So we just had a webinar, but was it, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks ago, with folks from Canada on the commercial real estate. And so, this is still a very fresh topic. It's wait and see what's going to be going on. But yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to be happening. But one of the things that surprised me with Canada and Calgary were the cap rates. But ridiculous. I mean, 4%, 4.5%. And okay, thank you.
the international investor market, right? That just can't, almost can't place capital fast enough, or they're just chasing deals to get their capital out of one area into another. Just from what I've read and have seen, but it is pretty incredible. And then here I'm in a market where I'm trying to sell off a little $250,000 single medical tenant property for a 9 cap, and it's like, what's going on? Yeah, it's on the market right now. It's actually not a bad little bite-sized deal for somebody.
Yeah. Where are you based out of?
I have an office in Decatur and Springfield.
Oh, okay.
Headquarters is in Decatur, which is
all right
in the center of the state. It's nice logistically because I'm 45 minutes away from Champaign, Bloomington, and Springfield. So, I'm right here. 4 of the 6 to 8 secondary tertiary markets are all within a very easy drive time.
Are you a member of any of the National Association of Realtors or not?
Yes, yeah. Member of NICAR, Illinois Realtors.
And through which local association is that?
We are Central Illinois Board of Realtors.
Okay.
And
maybe
we're also part of the Capital Market, which is in Springfield as well.
Maybe join NICAR as a secondary member. And I'll tell you why. You'll be a great asset because there's all commercial folks, Bill and Peter and Teresa. I learn a lot from these guys. But
we've been working it and the deal is done.
Yeah. But also because we have an international focus, and you would bring a good value to an area that's typically we always just focus in Chicago and what's going on when we talk about Illinois, but that's a hot market where you are.
Illinois is a big state, and I get calls sometimes from good broker connections, and they ask me about deals in Carbondale, and I go, it takes longer to drive to Carbondale than it does to the Loop. That's where I expand my further and go, hey, why don't you talk to my Carbondale guy?
Yeah, really. Talk to the guys who are cheering the Cardinals.
Right, and same thing. I'm not going to drive to Chicago and sell a property. I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't know the local Chicago market. I do know some of the Central Illinois secondary tertiary markets, and that's my focus.
Well, sometimes we don't know the market either. Sometimes we're confused and we live here.
Right. Well, when it gets so hyper local, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about real estate. But and Ahmed, to your question or point, I actually am a NICAR member this year. I got invited last year to speak at a luncheon event, and then I joined this year. And I think Myra gave me some fancy title of like CCIM Institute Liaison or something.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So,
Hey, so
try to live true to that title.
He's the first.
yeah, Bill. Oh, Bill is gone.
No,
Anyway.
he's here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill. Here's another candidate for becoming a CIPS instructor with a CCIM background.
Yes, I have my hand up just to go in that direction, but Peter had his hand up first. So
Yeah.
Peter,
So Peter, do you want to go ahead and ask your question, and then Bill can close us out?
Yeah, you know what? I just wanted to point out that my son went to Milliken also. So I know something about Decatur. I was just wondering what's happening with Decatur. Have they turned things around? Are they doing things to turn things around?
They are. Decatur is very dependent on, well, I guess another win for Decatur, a backfill story. Prairie Farms shut down a ice cream manufacturing, and Tillamook from Oregon moved in, and
Oh, wow.
their Midwest site as they're trying to expand their product to the East Coast. So Decatur's on their getting them closer logistically to sell Tillamook cheese and ice cream to the Midwest and East Coast market. So that's been a big win for Decatur. That supplied jobs. ADM is a main driver. That's the largest employer in Decatur. They aren't really slowing down, but they have had some heat in the headlines, which has not been good. They have had some layoffs, like a lot of large companies have, to keep their shareholders happy. But something that they've been watching, that to a Med's point of tariffs, that's been affecting ADM, because ADM, turns corn and soy and distributes stuff all over the world. Wheat in Europe has been highly affected. So, but to your point, Peter, Decatur has been doing some good things. They've been very pro-business. They passed a TIF district that covers the downtown to west, right towards Milliken's campus. A few properties that we manage are in that TIF district, and one of our developers took on the only TIF development project since this TIF district got passed last summer. We're redeveloping a couple properties downtown. One is a mixed-use retail office building that's getting a $1.4 million facelift redevelopment, and another is a small mixed-use building where we're adding more multifamily to the downtown market, which has become very popular. All the areas across central Illinois, we really experienced it over COVID and Rivian. Rivian for a while was paying for their workforce housing up to 90 miles from Rivian's campus in Bloomington. That was a very wide reach. So housing has been a huge topic. Obviously, the hardest part about housing in the central Illinois market is just making the metrics work. It costs the same amount of money, pretty much. Land costs might be a little bit more, but it costs the same amount, dollars for dollars, to build a apartment complex in Naperville than it does in Bloomington. And Naperville can support much higher rents that make that project pencil out, where Bloomington or Decatur or Springfield have a challenging time making the metrics pencil out. But housing has been a need in the greater market.
Bill? Oh, you're on mute, Bill.
Where's Bill? Did Bill fall asleep?
Nope,
No.
I'm just sitting here. Before I dive into my time, I'm going to turn it over to Getty. Getty's been shaking his head and gave him thumbs up. I met this young man a couple weeks ago at a conference in Vegas. He's so shy. He stood up and said, "I'm not married and I have nothing. I'm single. I don't have any hobbies. I don't have anything to do. So I'm here just to service all your clients. I got 24 hours a day." And he cracked up the room. So, Getty, speak a little bit.
What Bill didn't say is that I raised my hand and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
I was going there and I forgot. And right away, Teresa raised her hand and said, "I'm available." Or no, I'm a taker, which is the terminology.
141 super takers, I believe what I heard. No. Yeah, I'm in agreement with everything that Zane's saying. I'm new to the whole industry. I'm new to commercial. But what Bill kind of hit the nail on the head was that I do have time. And in that time, I've been able to do some research and back end. So if there's a second opinion at all, I think that Zane's absolutely correct on everything. with all the research I've been doing on the back end the last couple months, everything's, playing out to be exactly in line with what Zane's been saying. And yeah, just again, like Bill said, I went in, tried to be funny. I'm glad that it was easy to remember. That's a good thing. I'll make a note of that. But yeah, I'm here kind of to try to what is it? Bird dog deals. Like if I can find solutions for people, that's my goal right now. So as we kind of head into that marketing and later in the meeting, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Is I've got a little time to sit back and see what's missing from the puzzle, if you will. So that's kind of what I've been trying to facilitate. So thank you, all of you, for the opportunity to be here, and Bill for the nice words.
So I will wrap up the presentation and Q&A session. But we are going to stay on. Bill, did you have one more thing before I wrap up?
Yeah, because I wanted to go on the recording, and that is for all the people here, NICAR is putting together a CIPS, a Certified International Property Specialist designation from NAR that has a commercial slant to it. It'll be taught by a commercial practitioner. So a lot of the things you heard from Zane today, okay, will be reiterated, but we'll be using examples from experts in the world. So we might have an expert from Africa, okay, that joins for a couple hours and talks about their market, or from Central Europe or Asia, or we have several experts in the Americas. So it's going to be tied to C5. So I know everybody here is coming to C5 in September 16th, 17th, and 18th. Okay, that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The Monday will be the first day of this class, in person and hybrid. And then the other 4 classes that are required will be all virtual on the following 4 Thursdays. All right. So it should be a very good event. We're trying to keep the cost down, so make it very affordable. But we'd like.
And what's CIPS, Bill? And why is this a big deal?
It's a big deal because CIPS is a Certified International Property Specialist. Now, there's only about 6,000, less than 6,000 in the world, and 94 to 98% of those are residential. And we're building a great team of commercial people that we can, like Zane, you now network nationally, okay, with your connections. But
Yes.
how would you like to expand that to the next level, which would be international? It's very easy to do. NICAR is also going to put together a team of specialists, okay, that you can rely on, because doing international business, you need an international attorney, you need an international banker, you need probably a CPA or tax person that can do that. You need a money exchanger, okay, to do the money exchanging. All right. For an individual to have those contacts is very difficult. We understand. So we're going to put together this team of people, okay, that we will, go through and critique, or that's not the correct word I want, but you can rely on them that they're good people. All right. And good referrals. Thank you. Okay. All right. That was
question, Bill. One question. As far as the commercial CIPS, is there going to be something that says you are a CIPS specializes in commercial?
No, but can I add?
Yeah, but go ahead, Ahmed, and I'll.
Yeah. So with our discussion with the director of the programs and education at NAR, they're not ready at this stage for that. But I think down the road, as Bill, he's been behind this for a long, long time. But I think down the road, we could probably get to that. But right now, they don't mind, just the way we had it in the past. In 2016, we called it a commercial themed CIPS. But Zane, we had a few CCIM CIPS instructors. In order to be a CIPS instructor, you got to have the CIPS designation. That you can get pretty easy, and also do what they call a audit to become an instructor, and you could do that virtually. But if you are interested, I tell you what, it'll be great because exactly what we're looking for, as Bill has been talking about for years, is been getting commercial folks in this particular lane. And so you would be a great addition to the faculty at NAR teaching this program. Right now, there's no CCIM teaching. We had in the past.
Okay. Yeah, so
Excellent. Well, that's
to wrap
something.
that up, okay? The vision for the future that hopefully, Zane and Getty and, your young guys can see is that, NICAR could put together a new designation for NAR that would be a commercial, international commercial specialist, all right? And that would include, education, maybe 3 or 4 courses like CCIM, and then some type of experience, okay, where you have to have, so many or international exchange deals in your portfolio. So it would now rank up with CCIM and SOIR and the Realtors Land Institute, okay, designations that have some real value and exclusivity to them. All right, so that's the future of our vision.
Bill, where exactly is C5 going to be held at?
Chicago.
It's in
Where-
Chicago. Yeah.
We're in Chicago.
Yeah.
Don't know the hotel yet, okay, but it's downtown, okay.
Okay.
I think it's at the Hilton or the Hyatt. One of those, just right along the river.
Yeah, yeah. So we're trying to get the first day, the day before the conference starts to kick off. And so we've asked them if we can get a room at NAR headquarters because it's right downtown on Michigan Avenue. So, and the other thing, Zane, NAR has bilateral partners in over 80-some countries, over 100 bilateral partners. So if you travel anywhere in these places as a CIPS person, what you have is a CCIM, but the CIPS is a bigger group. And so you have a connection anywhere you go. And I don't know, Teresa, or is she keeping it a secret, but join our webinars. We have a monthly webinar through the Commercial Global Business Network of NICAR. And one coming up in March is a very interesting topic. And we've had him last year. This guy is internationally recognized. A young guy, works for a large international risk management company. So this is a program he's going to be doing again, dealing with what's happening globally. So please join us.
So to Bill and Ahmed's points, what NICAR offers, if you go to the calendar, is we have both virtual and live events, including not only the CRE Broker Forum, but we have the Commercial Global Business Network, we have broker breakfasts, we have a lot of different ways that brokers can interact with each other to help facilitate deals. So definitely check out the NICAR webpage and the events that we have over the year. And I appreciate, thank you, Zane, for presenting today. These recordings are on both the NICAR webpage through the CRE Broker Forum, as well as the NICAR YouTube station. We definitely encourage anyone to give us topics that they would love to hear about and or want to present, and then have an opportunity to present their needs and wants after the presentation. So we are going to end the recording right now, but please stay on for the quick networking section. Thank you for coming to the CRE Broker Forum through NICAR, and look forward to seeing you next time.